If we could just do whilst we're waiting for John,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
for our records,
Yeah.
could you say and spell your name for me, please?
Valerie Henderson.
Yep.
Valerie
So it's Valerie without an E.
Did I say not I?
Yeah.
Valerie.
I-E. Valerie
Yeah.
Henderson, brilliant. Can I ask how old you are again? It's just the papers always
I'm
ask us.
70.
70. And whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Rosington, Doncaster.
Brilliant. That's okay then. First off, if you just introduce yourself to us and tell us how you first came to be in contact with Weston Park.
My name's Valerie Henderson, and I first saw Dr. Wadsley in Doncaster on the 31st of May 2007 to discuss my cancer, and he asked me if I would go on a trial research with Weston Park.
Okay, so what was the first diagnosis?
I was diagnosed with bowel, liver and lung cancer, all on the same day.
Blimey neck. So what had led up to that? Had you been feeling unwell?
No, I first started with my body itching all the time. Couldn't relieve it. Used to have to take a nail brush to my skin to relieve the itching. Went to the doctors maybe end of 2005 with the symptoms, sent me for a blood test, everything was fine, but the itching still persevered, and my own doctor left and a new doctor came to Rosington, Dr. Cameron, and I went to see him, and I think he knew something about cancer because he took my blood, sent it off, I went back to see him, and he said the liver count was high, but it had been high the year before and nobody had picked up on it, and from then on it was hospital for scans on my liver which showed a mass on my liver, and from there on, within 2 weeks, I'd had CT scan, MRI scan, colonoscopy, and then was diagnosed with the cancer.
So what did that feel like when you were diagnosed?
Well, unbelievable really, because it was the last thing I never ever dreamt that they were going to tell me I'd got cancer. I know it may sound a bit, well, she must have, but as true as my word, I never ever said to John, I think I might have cancer. I was gobsmacked really when he said it, but my words were, I'll get through it. And never once have I said, why me? You've got it, you've got it. That's my philosophy in life. If you've got it, you've got it, and you deal with it.
So what happened after the diagnosis then?
Went to see Dr. Wadsley, and as I said, he asked me if I'd go on, if I was prepared to go on a trial with cancer research. Why not? I've got cancer. If it doesn't help me, probably the findings would help somebody else. And I've been very lucky because 5 years down the line, I'm still here.
Brilliant. So what did going on a trial involve?
I had to go to cancer research at Weston Park every week, apart from holidays of course. When I first went, I had a PICC line in. And 1 week my treatment was a 2-hour treatment. The next week it was a 6-hour treatment. So that was a long day, tiring day. Then the PICC lines got infected, so they put me a Hickman line in, which got infected. So the next thing was ask for a portacaf. It was one of the staff at Western Parks. Ask for a portacaf. These are usually used in children. Not many adults have them. For the simple reason the children can't get at them to pull the tubes, which I did have, but within a matter of weeks it had worked its way out and had to come out because of the infection. So then I went on a tablet on the capecitabine, but the first time I went on it I couldn't get used to it. I think the reason was I'd been used to the other kind of treatment I'd had with the drips, and then they put me back on the cetuximab with the drip, but every other week I used to have to stay in Western Park for 48 hours to have it over 2 days treatment. And then he asked if I would try the capecitabine again. I think it was either that or nothing. So I'd got to get my head round it's going to work, which I did. And then of course last year it stopped working altogether. So as I say, for 4.5 years I'd had treatment.
And what did you think about going on a trial?
Well, I just said if it won't help me, if it doesn't help me, it helps somebody else. I've got cancer. If I don't have it, it's not going to go away, but if I have it, it may help.
And you said that last year the treatment stopped working.
Yes. I was left with I had 3 tumours in my liver, and one never ever went away, and it started growing. So they said, there's nothing we can do. We've got to fetch you off that treatment, but we'll find something else. But I didn't have nothing for 6 months or more. And then when I went to see Dr. Wadsley in the January of this year, he asked me if it was all right if he spoke to his colleagues about any other treatment. And Mr. Al Mukhtar from Northern General, I went to see him and he said he can cut that out. And also the bowel. Take the liver, 60% of the liver away. And he has done stoma, which I'll have for at least 6 months, but then it's going to be reversed.
So that was surgery?
That was surgery, and that was the first time when I went to see him that surgery was mentioned. Which was another not setback, but another shock. That nobody ever mentioned surgery. But the outcome was that everybody said, well, 5 years ago you wouldn't have even been considered for surgery. And then when the doctor, take it out there, John. When I saw Mr. Al Mukhtar, they looked at everything, and he said, with what you was diagnosed with, we'd have only give you 28 months.
Wow.
So, here I am.
Gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
How have you coped with having cancer?
Well, I've been lucky I've had my family behind me. I mean, I have another daughter and son that lives away. Lynn does most for me. If I go out with Lynn. I don't go very far on my own. And since I've had the operation, she's come back home to live till I am up and well. But as I said before, I haven't been poorly. Not like some that I've seen when I've been at Weston Park. I haven't had this sickness, and I mean, there's times when I haven't been able to eat and I felt low, but all in all, it's positive thinking. And that's my philosophy, is positive thinking. Everybody has got to think positive. I could have come home that day and sat in my chair and said, this is me till day I die. But we was expecting Tommy, so no way. And he's been my rock that's kept me going, really, is that I can see him every month.
Brilliant. What difference then has Weston Park made to your life?
A big difference. A big difference. As I said before, from going through the doors, meeting from the cleaners in the hospital to seeing the top people at hospital, nurses, everyone cannot do enough for you. They are there to help you, and I can't praise any of them enough for what they've done for me.
What would you say about the staff then? How would you rate them?
Very, very good. Excellent, in fact. All of them. I mean, even, the nurses on the cancer that do the treatment on the unit are fantastic. The nurses on the ward, the research nurses, I know a lot of the research nurses, been going that long. But no, I can't praise Weston Park enough for what it has done for me.
So, do you think then that clinical trials such as these are a good thing?
Oh yes, definitely. And if anybody refuses to have one when they can, I think they're silly. Because I definitely don't think I'd be here today without it.
Brilliant. Looking back to when you were first diagnosed, how do you feel today as opposed to back then?
A lot more positive with things that have gone on. I'm a lot better in this, forward thinking about it. But other than that, just general, really.
Okay, we were talking just before a little bit about when you'd been on the unit. Were there times when your treatment on the unit, when it reached 5 o'clock, what happened then?
When it reached on the unit, if, like I've been, and I had to sit downstairs in the waiting room 3 hours for my treatment to be ready, and especially if it's a 6 hour treatment, when 5 o'clock comes, it all shuts down. You are moved then onto a ward, which sometimes we went straight into a bed, but another time I was sat waiting an hour in day room waiting for a bed, which your treatment's not going because they can't up and run it, which is a bit daunting, really.
So to have this new unit within the hospital?
Be a lot better, especially if they carry on. They don't have to be transferred across into Weston Park. It must be going to be a big, big thing for people that are having the treatment.
And we also mentioned just the capacity of the current one.
Yes, the 5 chairs and a bed. Yeah, very nice, very, very homely, can't fault it. But as I said earlier, such as myself, that was there for a 6-hour treatment, it took one chair up all day. And it wasn't just people coming for treatment. People were coming from that had seen the doctors, that were coming for bloods and ECGs. It's not just a treatment centre. It was for everybody that was seeing a doctor in the cancer research department. That they were coming up as well. But taking, or if there's 2 of you, you're taking 2 seats up, it's a lot of people still waiting for treatment downstairs.
So to have a greater capacity
Would be a big benefit. It's got to be.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
If you could sum up your experiences in just a few sentences, what would you say about it? How was Weston Park?
It was daunting at first, I must admit, because, as I said to you before, anybody mention Weston Park, you think your days are numbered. And you think, oh my God, this is the end. But no, it isn't. As I've said, you've got to think positive about it. You haven't got to dwell on what could be. You've got to think what's going to happen. You're going to get well. And that's my experience with it. That's what I've done all along.
Great stuff. And kind of just finally, I suppose, if someone was watching this and they were thinking of supporting the charity's new fundraising campaign.
Yeah, get involved. Yeah, it's well worth it. Must be.
A good cause to support?
Oh, yes. I wouldn't be here without it, I must admit. And I have benefited from it. Truly have.
Brilliant. That's great. If we could just do a little bit for detail now.
Yeah.
So you are married to
John. Yeah.
And how many children do you have?
I have 3 children.
What's their names?
Dawn, Brian and Lynn.
And you've got some grandsons?
I've got 3 grandsons, Gareth, Matthew, John Robert, and I have a great grandson, Tommy. Which I adore.
Yeah. And who are Tommy's parents?
Tommy's parents are Matthew and his girlfriend Jo.
Brilliant. Great stuff. I think that's just about everything. So, so the treatment stopped working.
And I was referred to Mr. Al Mukhtar at Northern General. When I went to see him, he said he could operate. He could take the tumour out of my liver and also out of the bowel and put me a stoma bag on, which I asked, could I only have one and not the other? And he said no. It comes as a package. I said, oh, it's like going on a package holiday then, is it? You've got to have one arm, you've got to have both, which I did go and have. But unfortunately, I was rushed into intensive care on the day of the surgery and was in there for over a week. Apparently when they'd finished, my blood pressure dropped so low that I was put on life support machine.
So what happens now?
Now, well, I do not see him for 6 months. I've been back to see him and I don't see him for 6 months, and then he's going to discuss having the stoma reversed, which they told me in the beginning that it was possible to do. Finding it a bit, not awkward, but I don't know how I can describe. I don't feel uncomfortable with it, but I don't feel comfortable at times with it. But it's something, it's like everything else, you've got to get used to it. It's got to be done, and I'm doing it.
So do you think this region, it's good that we've got a hospital such as Weston Park?
Oh yes, oh definitely. I don't know where we'd be without it, or any of its staff. And the staff I've been involved with, Dr. Wadsley, Kay, Michelle, numerous of the research nurses, I can't praise them enough. And Ellen that does the pick lines.
Brilliant. Right. Okay, so have you had any side effects from the
Yes,
treatment?
the side effects I had were, was told it would be an acne rash, which I thought, well, it can't be much. But after 3 days of having the treatment, I came out from ear to ear with a crust of yellow mass of gunge, and I used to have to cover my face up to go out. I wouldn't go out, but then it's either you go out or you stay in. Take your choice. So I thought, what the hell, if people look, they'll look. And I have only ever had one person ask me if it was infectious.
What did you tell them?
I said, no, this is the side effects of having treatment for cancer. Which gobsmacked him.
I bet.
But I have had it. I did have a rash badly. I had it from my knees, all over my body to the top of my head. And that lasted all the time I was on treatment. It is only just starting to clear after 6 months of not having treatment.
Brilliant.